My name is Dr. Sarah Pennington. I am the school counselor at a small charter school in Marina, California. We're an independent study charter school helping students that are in jeopardy of possibly dropping out to complete their diploma and move on to the next phase in their life. Having Rising Safe and Sound come to our campus and talk to youth was really a missing piece when we talk about having actual survivors come and tell their story and use real language with youth and not be a canned curriculum was so much more powerful than anything I had seen prior to having Rising Safe and Sound come and really partner with our school. I have been a CASA for many, many years. So it's a court-appointed special advocate who volunteers their time to work with foster youth. And I had a youth years ago that I was working with, and she was trafficked. I was working as a school counselor. I had gotten all of this, professional development around, different things that youth might be faced with. Had no idea that that's actually what was happening. Having Rising Safe and Sound come and arm us with the idea that there's this element of forced criminality that might happen with your youth, that youth often identify their perpetrator as being like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, somebody that loves them, somebody that's love bombing them. And I had seen these things previously in my career and not really been able to identify that this, yes, were, part of that fraud and coercion that happens and how manipulating these relationships can be for our youth. They're so ill-prepared and ill-equipped. I just had never been through a training before that was so comprehensive to help us identify those signs to empower youth to recognize them. Some of the concrete examples that I saw once we had the training was much more willingness on the part of families and students to come and talk to us about things that either they had experienced personally or the things that they had seen in their communities or within their friend groups. I think it created a really safe kind of container for people to come to us. That is something that you can't replace with a curriculum. And so my hope is that Rising Safe and Sound continues to operate and becomes bigger, and we hear about the organization in all of the schools in our area. That would be my hope.
My name is Barbara Lawrence Emanuel, and I'm the Associate Director at Learning for Life Charter School. When I was a principal is when I learned about Rising. And in my role as a principal, safety is always something you want to be aware of. And I had a student who was trafficked, and I had no idea. I didn't know what the signs were. I didn't know how that sort of thing would have happened. I remember just feeling completely shocked by the fact that this happened to one of my students. So the Rising Safe and Sound program is unlike anything else I have ever encountered as an educator. It's not a book, it's not a story, it's not a video. There is a human being in the room with you talking about what happened to them very candidly, very appropriately. It's not something students can't hear. It's difficult. So the first thing that comes to mind actually is a student who went home, spoke to her parent and her mother came in because her mother had had experiences that she had never really thought of as I was manipulated and I was used. And her daughter recognized that that is what had happened. And that was a very powerful thing to have happen for that family and empowering for that mother and her daughter, that her daughter heard this information and then went home and talked to her mom about things mom had shared with the daughter earlier in her life, things that had gone on before she had a daughter, and recognized that her mom needed healing. I mean, that was amazing. I do think that the Rising Safe and Sound program changes lives, saves lives, and improves lives.